Welcome back to another episode of Keoni Chats. So this episode is the only a second time where there's some sort of connection to my earlier episodes. So the first time was when I interviewed my mom about a couple episodes ago, where I had my own episode, I think about 10, 11. And this week, you know that you are here to check out Whitney Baustista's story. She is married to Alvin Baustista, who was my guest for episode 3. And if you don't remember, Alvin is a chiropractor in the Lake Oswego area. So Whitney is still within that same area working, but she's actually a acupuncturist. So if you don't remember, I went to see Alvin about September 2019 for an accident. So that I've known him prior to, but I never got to know him as my doctor. So he recommended that I go see his wife, Whitney. And as soon as he said that sentence, I knew that someday I want to talk to both of them about how that kind of dynamic works. I always consider them kind of a power couple. You know, one's a chiropractor, one's an acupuncturist. They do tie in a lot together because one's working on the musculars and some of the joint. And Whitney's acupuncture, she has needles that can help exonerate some stress. So she does talk about acupuncture in the episode. So I'm trying not to be too scientific with it because I know that I won't be able to explain it as well as she does. But I'm very happy to get her on this episode because we actually had a short window to record this because this was in between her feedings, as she is she's a new mother, and I'm very grateful for her for taking that time out of in between feedings to, instead of relax, talk with one of her friends about life. And this was actually her first podcast episode, so she was a little nervous, and she I could tell that there were some times where I threw some curveballs in there that weren't on a topic list, but I wanted to just have a little fun, have a little spontaneity. And I think she did a fantastic job. So I thought this was a great episode. It definitely did make me want to interview her again because if I had more time, obviously, if you've kept up with the show, you've seen within my last 10 or so episodes, they've been hitting around that hour and a half range. And while a short episode is never a bad thing, it does leave me wanting more. So I definitely plan on bringing her back again where she has more time to sit down and we can dive on into more of her history. So if you're, again, here to check out Whitney's episode, she's episode 49, which means that I have 48 other episodes with people that aren't as high profile. Ian Slade, last week's episode, granted he's an actor. He's starting to get into these big time movies. He's still, no offense to him. Again, no offense to him if he's listening or watching. He's not as high profile as, let's say, if I were to get Michael Rosenbaum. So if I was able to get like Michael Rosenbaum, I just use him as an example because his podcast really helped me create an idea towards his podcast. So if I was to get Michael Rosenbaum, he has such a strong following just because of his work on Smallville and because his podcast. So my guests aren't as high profile, but I think they're telling an amazing story. And I urge everyone who is checking out this episode for the first time, follow the show. Check out other episodes. Again, there's a good chance you might not know a good portion of them if you are someone that did not work with me or someone that does not know me. So they might seem like random strangers, but I think they're telling great stories, so I urge you to check them out. The show can be found on all podcast platforms under Keoni Chats, and then there is a video version when you go to YouTube and look up Keoni Chats. I usually put it in the title, so for this episode, I'll say Keoni Chats - Whitney Baustista. So subscribe to the show, follow on YouTube. I think I had that kind of mix reversed, but yeah, subscribe and keep in the loop for when new episodes are released. I do post periodically on social media when it comes to an episode release, just because I want to garnish more attention. So if you would like to be in the loop when it comes to those social media posts, you can follow the show on KC Media 13 on both Instagram and Twitter, and Conlu K Media on Facebook. And then all episodes are also put onto my website. If you look in the lower right hand corner, you'll see my name.com. So keoniconlu.com, KeoniConlu.com. This actually applies more to the YouTubers, but I'm trying to get better about advertising my website because I do put all of my creative uh, outlets, my creative projects, when it comes to, like, let's say photography or any of my blogs that I've written up, whether it's the NFL mock drafts or the DC animated review series, which again I have to wait until the end of December to release another year or release another entry, but at least you can check out some of my previous entries because I got them all the way up to 2020. That was a long project, but I do miss that project. It was a lot of fun. So you can check all those out on my website, keoniconlu.com. And yeah, I think I don't see myself as a professional, but I just see myself as someone that has a creative degree and wants to try and apply it in in his hobbies as much as he can. So honestly, this is such a fun thing for me to do. So however you are checking out Whitney's episode on whichever podcast platform you prefer, or if you are watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoy my chat with Whitney Baustista. New mother, Whitney Baustista Green, is joining me today. And if the last name Bautista sounds familiar for those fans of the show, around episode 3-ish, her husband was my guest. So this is a nice little, I guess part 2.
You saved the best for last.
I saved the best for last. I mean, I could also interview your son, Isaiah. Well,
Yes.
might be a little bit until that's able to happen.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So last weekend was Mother's Day. For you, how was it celebrating a mother for the first time instead of celebrating your mother, but you're being celebrated as a mother? Because Mother's Day, you want to do stuff for your mom. So how was that kind of different view of it all?
Well, we celebrated my mom, so we celebrated her, but it was nice to be a mother. And I it's still a surreal feeling, right? I feel really fortunate to have a baby. And it was really nice to be celebrated. My husband, he planned something for me and my mom the day before. We went to Hood River. And it was really nice. We haven't really done anything because of COVID. I was pregnant and we both work in the healthcare setting. So we were really strict about not seeing anyone. We didn't want to expose our patients, or if we were exposed to COVID, we didn't want to expose family or loved ones. So it was really nice to get out and go wine tasting in Hood River and just to celebrate each other. And like I was saying to you, Keoni, about being a mother, I just feel really fortunate with acupuncture. I work with a lot of fertility patients, and I've had a lot of friends, and it's not always easy for people to get pregnant. And unfortunately, it's not something that everyone talks about. And miscarriage is really common, and infertility can be really common. And I just feel really fortunate to have this little guy, and he's just so awesome. So, yeah, it was a good Mother's Day.
Yeah. So when it came to, there are a ton of questions about like the labor process and just
Mhm.
having carried the child for 9 months, but most importantly, picking the name. How did picking the name come about? Because the name of your child is Isaiah. Am I saying that correctly?
Isaiah.
So how did that come about?
Well, we had a hard time agreeing on a boy name because every time I liked a name, my husband would be like, "No, that guy beat the Ducks in 2018, and I don't want my son to be named that." Or pretty crazy. Yeah. I'm like, how do you even remember all these games? So we were just looking at names, and Isaiah was one he liked. And it kept coming up for me when I was doing daily devotionals, the book of Isaiah, and I felt like what Isaiah represents, hope, is especially at this time with it being a long year of COVID. He is our hope and our light, and we're just really excited to have this new chapter in our life together.
So I actually the times we've seen each other was either A after an appointment with Alvin or B after an appointment with yourself.
Yeah.
And also C, it's like sports related. So and then I've actually never knew much about your religious views. So when it came to talking with Alvin about that, how is he with what is his religious views and how did you guys kind of come to that middle ground?
Oh, we're gonna need more than an hour. um, I mean, my religious views, it's something that is always evolving for me. I was raised in the Presbyterian Church. Alvin was born in the Philippines, and he was raised Catholic. And we both believe in a higher power and God and love and being kind to others and being respectful. And that is, I think, what helps keep our relationship strong. There's been times in my life that I've gone in and out of going to church based on, this is being recorded, so I need to use my words carefully. Just based on different beliefs that people have, because the message that I'm reading in the Bible isn't always what I'm seeing. So I think it can be really challenging to find a good fit, but there are a lot of really good organized religious places. My grandma is Buddhist, and so I have that Buddhist influence also. And having studied acupuncture, Taoist principles and beliefs are really interesting to me as well. So um, I'm comfortable in like the more traditional Presbyterian Catholic worship, but I also res- resonate really strongly with other types of religion.
Okay. And so, as a small business owner for Whitney Green Acupuncture, so I feel like there's kind of that fine line of like how much do you demonstrate like some religious views, and then how do you also make sure it's still neutral for folks like, let's say myself, that aren't a strong follower or just never had that strong upbringing when it comes to religion. How did it come when it came to like decorating your inside your office, for example, or inside of the lobby? Did you have to have that kind of internal battle?
No, not at all. Because to me, you know, even though I was raised in like a more traditional church, my church was really open, and everyone was welcome at church. There were different, I mean, growing up in Oregon, how culturally diverse is it? So there wasn't a lot of cultural diversity, but it was very open and accepting in my church growing up. And so that's kind of how I've always felt, and so I've
Mm-hmm.
always accepted all different types of religions. And the stereotypes of a lot of churches, that wasn't my experience. So it wasn't hard for me when I'm decorating the office, because I'm just decorating the office in more of a neutral environment, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma also would bring me to a Unitarian church when I'd visit her in Hawaii, and so there's just I was exposed to a lot of different religions, and to me, it wasn't just a box that
Yeah.
you put yourself in. I don't
Yeah.
know if that this was not on the list of questions
No,
that
it
you
was
gave
not. It was you gotta play off the cuff sometimes. You gotta have a little
I
fun
know,
with
apparently.
it.
Which is not my personality all the time. I'm a pretty
Stick to the schedule.
stick, which I'm learning is, I mean, COVID, I learned that there to be flexible, and there's never a schedule, and you have to adapt all the time. And then having a child now, um, it's the same thing.
Yeah. So both you and Alvin, which is kind of, just thinking, from a broad spectrum, just saying if I didn't know both of you, saying that you, an acupuncturist, is married to Alvin, a chiropractor, my first thought is always power couple. That's a straight power couple right there. Now, even you two are also working together when it comes to him now moving to across the hall within the near future. So that's a lot of time together. Do you ever like how do you ever think about like I just need a little bit of space from you, or how do you get your own space? How do you make sure that you stay true to yourself?
The way our professions are, during the day, it's not like you have a lot of hangout time because
Mm.
you're on a schedule. So even if we're across the hall from each other, we probably won't see each other. I mean, we might get to see each other a little bit more, which I'm actually excited about. But when I was in his office, I added a day to be in his office last year. We still didn't see each other that much because we're with patients and we're focused on patients during the day. So, yeah, I think it will actually be a good thing. I'm really excited. And patients are excited that they'll be able to see both of us.
Yeah, it's a lot of, so I went to see Alvin first because I was in a car accident, but it wasn't like a major car accident, but it's just like I just need chiropractic help. And then he's like, "Oh, you should go see Whitney. She's an acupuncture. She does acupuncture." I was a little skeptical at first because I was thinking like, acupuncture I've seen on sports people with needles. What are some of those skepticisms that you hear from people that are from usually Alvin, and then they go over to you and they're a little weary? How do you kind of make them okay with the idea of acupuncture?
Acupuncture is it's becoming more well known now, and a lot of not a lot, yeah, a lot of people have more experience with acupuncture. But even if it's not a referral from Alvin, a lot of people that I see have never had it or heard of it, and it's something completely new and different. I think that it's important to meet patients where they're at and explain what it is, and also explain it from a biomedical approach because that's what we're used to here in the United States. So by inserting a thin stainless steel needle into the skin, it's going to create a response in your body where you have increased blood circulation. It can help relax the muscle tissue, and those are terms that we're more familiar with in our culture in the United States. Before I get into the traditional Chinese medical theories about acupuncture, so I think just taking time to explain what's happening, and there is now a lot of research that supports acupuncture. I just got my doctorate last year in acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and it was nice to go back to school. I graduated in 2012, and a lot of new there's been a lot more research that has happened, and I had the opportunity to learn more about that, which was great.
So that's almost 10 years ago since you were last in a classroom type setting. Now, about I guess again, granted you weren't a mother then, um, just trying to get your brain to rethink that way. That's got to be tough to
Yeah.
get back to school thinking.
It was really tough. I'm Googling, how do I write a paper? I mean, you just like, you don't remember what's APA format. You just don't. The first term was a big adjustment because not only are you working on writing a paper, you're working on remembering how to write a paper. So yeah, the first term was a big adjustment, but by the second term, you start getting the swing of things, and it did get easier. And it was fun to connect with other students because acupuncture. So my first degree in acupuncture was a master's program, and it was a 3 to 4 year program. And they're now transitioning it to be a doctoral program. So a lot of acupuncturists who went to school 10, 15, 20 years ago are doing this transitional program to basically take what our degree was and bring it up to the doctoral level. Uh, Eventually, everyone might have their doctorate when they're going to acupuncture school. So it was neat to connect with people that have been in the field for many years or new recent grads and just get different perspectives. I like to learn. I love learning. I've never had an issue with getting in my required continuing education courses. That's the neat thing about my career. I'm constantly able to learn and new techniques and different styles.
So just by the way that you said that you like to stick to a schedule in this conversation so far, I do feel like you're one of those that really excelled in school. Like whether it was, back in medical school or maybe prior to in like elementary school, middle school, high school. I get this impression that you were always the I guess the bookworm. That's the best word for it. Now, how do you handle, like, let's say going back to school almost 10 years later, and maybe you don't do well in the grade, or you don't do well in paper, or you don't do well on this? How do you handle those kind of failures that kind of do knock your, and I don't want to say, I don't want to say you have a high ego going into it, but just knock your confidence down?
Well, I got good grades.
He's never
You know,
experienced
I
it.
had my problem in school was spending too much time on assignments and studying too much.
Mm.
Um, It was kind of a bummer that it was before COVID because I had already stopped doing things with friends. I was still working full time. So on the weekends, I spent all my time studying. And I really had to like try to, it's good enough. And that's something I've had to learn in my life that like things can be just good enough. They don't always have to be like you want them to be. And it depends on what it is that you're working on. Like some things need to be at a certain level, but
Hmm.
prioritizing what's more important to me, I needed to get, I wanted to get good grades, but I just needed to pass and trying to take that stress off myself because my priority was still my business, my patients, my husband, my family. Um, Speaking of failures, that was one thing a big failure I had that I felt was a failure was my last year in acupuncture school. And I was taking all my boards. You could take them before you graduated. And I was one of the first to take their herbal board exam, which is optional in the state of Oregon. You can still practice traditional Chinese medicine with herbs if you don't take this board, but I wanted to take it when everything was fresh in my mind. And it's not the easiest test to take. Um, and I took it and I failed it.
Hmm.
And that was really hard for me. Um, I didn't study enough for it. I wasn't prepared. I was also had my clinicals and was finishing up. We have to do a research paper that could be published. And there was just too much going on. And um, yeah, I failed it. And that was a good lesson for me because it gave me the time and space to just stop. And I went to China afterwards, studied abroad, and then I came back and I took a month to actually sit down and study. And I passed it the second time I took it. And it gave me the space to um, my what I thought I'd be doing after school kind of changed and other things opened up. And for me, when something doesn't happen according to plan, it's normally there's a bigger plan, a bigger something else is happening that I don't understand yet that later will um, come to be true. And then I'll realize, oh, that's why I needed to learn that lesson, or that's why I needed more time or space for that.
Yeah, when I was in college, just kind of like the last 2 years, my mindset was just like, just get out, just finish the classes. Everything else can happen later. Like, I was getting frustrated with the atmosphere of Eugene. Like, Alvin's an alumni; he knows how it is. So, they can get very rowdy, very party esque. So I was just like, I'm trying to study. I hear people screaming outside, doing whatever it is, but I'm just like, I just need to get in and then get out. So yeah, I could tell. I can relate with you on that one. Where it's just like I was felt too distracted. There was so many things going on, and then I was just ready to leave. And then that's when it all kind of like funneled in. I was just like, all right, let's rock and roll. So unfortunately, I learned that lesson by just sitting in my living room or sitting in my you know desk. You had to go to China. How was China, other than having to go and try to figure out like you need to prioritize a little bit?
Keoni Chats is probably sponsored by Vibes Training. Dylan Vibes is a good friend and former guest of the show. And after he did his time as a fitness trainer for those big name fitness companies, he wanted to challenge himself and become his own man, become his own business. So I wanted to show my support and give him this platform to shout out his business. If you go to vibestraining.com, click on the blue button to get registered and become a client for Dylan. You'll get prompted to download an app. And in that app, you'll have a plethora of workouts ranging from 5 to 60 minutes. And if you have a dumbbell or if you have a barbell or bands, perfect. But if you don't, he is creating a workout circuit that includes backpacks or step stools. So things you can find on your everyday home. So I think that's a great idea because I had a barbell. I gave it to my brother because I have access to a gym and he could use it more. But in those days where I don't really want to go to the gym, I just want to be at home and just get a workout there, I think this is the best option, honestly. And once you are inside that app, you actually do have a place where you can keep track of your progress. And then you also have access to a community of fitness enthusiasts that can help you answer any questions or celebrate your victories or answer or just be there for you. Because I know having someone to say job well done does motivate me just a little bit. It sounds bad, but just having someone there to say job well done, it does help me keep going. So if you are curious about how these workouts look prior to becoming a client for Dylan, you can go to Instagram and look up Vibes Training PDX. He does post his workouts there that he does, and a lot of those workouts that he does on his own, you can see on his app. So it's good to see that Dylan can't just make up the workout and not do it, that he can make it up and then make sure that he can do it so he can help you as well. So go to vibestraining.com, click on the blue button, and become registered and get Vibes Fit today.
China was awesome. I mean, it was, I definitely had culture shock going to China, and I was very naive to think I wouldn't have culture shock. I studied abroad in college in Ecuador, and I had spent time in Costa Rica. And I, when I was in high school, I went on a trip with my church to Honduras, and that was my first time I experienced culture shock. And that actually is another long story, but that got me into the medical field. But I went to China and I had really like culture shock. It was just, there's a lot of people, and it's, yeah, the food is completely different than the food that we eat in the United States. And I just, yeah, I had culture shock. But I loved that there's this history and then this new life. The architecture is like these ancient buildings and then new buildings, and there's a lot of people, and there's people doing qigong and tai chi in the parks, and it was really cool. The hospitals were amazing to learn from. I feel like I learned more in those 5 weeks than I did in the 3 years of acupuncture school, because there was just so much information. Acupuncture school, like that gave us the foundation so we could learn more. But yeah, it was an awesome experience.
So other than the culture shock, there's also a language barrier, or was there someone there that could speak perfect English?
And that was part of that was hard also, because I knew I can get around with Spanish and I can't get around with Chinese at all. We had translators in the hospitals, and then we had a guide to show us like some restaurants and how to order food. But yeah, and I was in Nanjing, and not a lot of people spoke English. Not that they should. I should have been the one who spoke Chinese, but I didn't. And I mean, yeah, that was hard. Some days I would just like go home and eat my snacks that I brought from Trader Joe's to
Oh
for dinner,
gosh.
instead of like trying to figure out how to communicate and get food.
Oh, I just remember when Trader Joe's had that little fiasco where instead it was like Trader Joe's, it was like Trader Ming's or Trader Juan's. So they're trying to like replace the word Joe with like the most common used names, maybe a little too stereotypical names. So I just
Oh.
remember that being a little bit of a, they got in trouble for that, but I think they corrected it all. Hopefully, fingers crossed, because I still shop there. It's like,
Yeah, I shopped there. I didn't know about that.
yeah,
Maybe I should have known about that. I don't know.
no. So can you still talk a little bit of Chinese, or is that all pretty much gone?
I didn't never really learn Chinese. I
Uh,
can say hello, ni hao,
yeah.
and probably am not pronouncing it well at all. I'd like to learn Chinese. That'd be fun. But before I learn Chinese, I really want to learn Tagalog so I can speak to my in-laws better.
Was there something specific about your culture shock that you experienced while in China that is still with you today that you implement kind of in your household? Because there is some Chinese influence inside of the Philippine culture also.
Um, I mean, I think that when I went to the Philippines to visit, I didn't have culture shock when I went to the Philippines. Because I had been what I love about the Philippines, there's this like Asian influence, and then there's this like Latin American influence, well, from the Spaniards conquering the Philippines. Um, and because I'd been to both of those places, I had experienced those differences. So that helped me in the Philippines not have culture shock, I would say.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, you know, it's for I just because I know from a Filipino family, they can get a little too much. They could be very much like I don't know whether it's just like too much about like knowing about what's going on in your life or just too quick to make assumptions. So for you, having your Presbyterian kind of different kind of living to marrying Alvin and then trying to get adjusted to how his family operates, what is it like just to step into a Filipino household and just try to like you know make sure that you can keep up with them if you do that.
Yeah. You know, I it's really interesting because Alvin and I come from very different backgrounds, but we have a lot of similarities. I grew up in a family where family gatherings were really large. We got together with, on my mom's side, her mom was a twin, and my mom is one of six, and her twin had three kids, and one of them had six kids, and my grandma's aunts would come. And so there was always like a ton of people and they were big gatherings. So when I would date other people in the past, it was overwhelming for them to be a part of my family. And Alvin's family, and I don't know what's Bautista, his family, or what's Filipino, right? Because some of it might just be the Bautista family, and some of it's the Filipino culture. It's the big gatherings, everyone's friendly, everyone gets along, lots of food on the table. You don't babysit whoever you bring with you. Like they just come and they talk to other people, and it's just it's I don't know. That's what I love about his family. You just spend time, everyone's walking around talking to people, the kids are running around, and that was what I grew up with. So it has been really nice. I would say that his family is very family centered, and that's a core value that I have. And so it's worked out really well for us.
So w- you're stepping into you stepping into Alvin's like kind of family Filipino world. What did your family say about I guess trying to understand the Filipino culture, or how was their kind of like learning curve to try to get a better understanding of how Alvin is and just Alvin's roots? And I dropped my pen.
That's a good question. I don't really know. Alvin, yeah, I don't really know. And I don't know if it's because he's lived in the US since he was 12. And so he's also like has a strong American influence on him as a person. I would say the biggest difference between us is the food,
Mm.
um, which is amazing. And I love Filipino food. Um,
Good answer.
Right? Yeah, it's really good food. But there's some of it that I was a little frustrated that I was tricked into eating when I was in the
Yeah.
Philippines. Like intestine or something, I think it was.
Yeah, and there's also a really common.
Balut.
Yep, that's the one. And for those that
Yeah.
don't know what that
Which I
is,
wouldn't eat the balut. There was a lot of peer pressure for that, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't eat balut.
for those that don't know, so balut is basically the a chicken egg with the chicken. The chicken's like pretty well developed, right? Is that the best way to describe it?
It's a little baby chick. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the bones are soft. Like this is so gross and this makes me really sad.
Sorry, vegans.
um,
Sorry, vegans.
I know it makes, yeah, but the bones are soft and so it's supposed to be kind of easy to eat. I don't know. I didn't eat it. I couldn't do it. Um, but it is like a part of the culture and it's something that Alvin had as a little one. And so, but we're not cooking that or
No,
eating that in the
no,
house.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you also because you are also a small business owner, and
Mhm.
for myself being a podcast host, it was difficult. It's still difficult to this day. And you're again episode 49 where I need to get my episode released. I need to market myself. I need to be the
Mhm.
person that pushes this podcast to people's not like to their actual face, but just like to their social media feeds. So you do have a YouTube channel, which is Whitney Green Acupuncture. I did check it out. I did subscribe also.
Oh,
So I saw, I think your most recent video, and then I also saw your first video, which talks about inflammation. Now, when a camera is right on you and you have to talk about this, but basically like you are right now, what was that growth like? Like, 'cause when I watched your first one, I did hear a little bit of pausing here there, and I just picked up on it because that's what I did. That's what I did in like
Mhm.
the first like 5 episodes, for example. I'll be pausing a lot. And I'm just like, oh, what am I saying next? So for you, that growth of like just being able to market yourself, how has that been?
Well, first of all, I don't like being recorded. So this is not my favorite thing. um and I don't like making videos. I just feel awkward. I feel really awkward. I had to make a rule in the very beginning that I can only watch it twice and say constructive things about myself, because it's really easy to be like, oh, you're saying too much, or you're pausing too much. And when there's so many people out there that have been doing videos for a long time, or they're they're amazing to me. I look at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so good at this. It's hard to not compare yourself. And when you're first starting, it's really awkward. And it's not what I focus on, right? I make videos to put in our newsletter to help patients and information. And for me, I had to reframe it. And that is what kept me doing it. I would, I did not like doing it, but then I would send out a newsletter with information, and patients would come back and be like, oh, I didn't realize I was supposed to get new tennis shoes as often as you recommended. That is really helping now with my knee and my ankle pain. And to me, I'm like, great. I will keep doing videos if I'm helping other people. Um, because it can feel awkward. When I first started my business at the beginning of 2013, I don't like selling myself. And so I really needed to take an approach of I'm selling acupuncture, because I know personally I had acupuncture for some medical issues, and it helped resolve those. That's another long story. But it made me passionate about it. And so if I got into the profession to help other people, in order to help other people, I need to teach people about acupuncture. And so that helped me with marketing myself, because it can feel really, it's just not something natural for me to market myself, and it feels awkward. And so reframing it for me was something that was really important.
Yeah, I think the first, yeah, again, those first 5 episodes, I had the absolute hardest time watching them again because I was there, I was experienced it. It's like, oh, I knew I'm about to stumble here. I knew I'm about to like maybe say the wrong word there. So it's hard to be easy on yourself when it comes to, because what we're doing right now. Again, it's like gonna go live a week later, but still like we're talking on a recorded camera. So it's not easy to do, but it just takes a lot of practice, which we're getting practice right now. Look at that.
We're practicing right now. Well, and I mean, when you're doing a video to post, you can edit it. And in this situation, it's whatever we're talking about. So there's also a sense of vulnerability when you're being interviewed by someone.
Yeah, and luckily, we know each other, so it's automatically have that comfortability. S-
Hmm.
So is
Yeah.
that why you wanted to do this interview?
Um, be, because I know you.
I mean, you just said you're not comfortable with being recorded, so
Yeah, I did this because I know you and I like you. Yeah, that's definitely why I was open to it.
okay, phew, phew.
Yeah, definitely. I've done like it's funny, like for networking, I've been in a part of networking groups. I'm in the Chamber of Commerce. I'm in business networking international. I used to be in it for quite a long time, which is a great way to connect and build relationships for word of mouth referrals. Uh, and I'm okay with presenting in those situations, but as soon as something's recorded, it makes me really nervous.
I know. I just think of. Did you ever see? Was it Talladega Nights with Ricky Bobby and Will Ferrell? This came out like maybe like I would say maybe 2010s ish, tens around that time, where like he's talking in front of the camera and he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands, and he's just like having his hands up in the air, and he's just like, I don't know. And then the guy off camera is like, dude, just put your hands down. Like, just keeps doing weird things. At first, that's what at least what I was like. I was like, that's why I have the pen, I have the notebook, so my hands are actually, you know,
Doing something.
doing something, and it keeps myself actively thinking.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, it's really true.
So, along with the Chambers of Commerce, you're also part of the Tiger Rotary Club, which is basically you and a group of other people in the community where you make some differences. How did you get involved with that one?
Yeah, Rotary is amazing. And if anyone's looking for a way to give back to their local and international community, I highly recommend it. Uh, I got involved. I ran into an old friend and she knew I was starting my business and she's like, "Why don't you check out Rotary?" And I had no idea what it was. And I went to Rotary, went to a meeting, and it's a group of community members. A lot of them are business professionals, and they are there to give back to the community. So, the Tigard Rotary Club, some of our projects, we give scholarships to Tigard High School students for college. We sponsor an exchange, two exchange students to go to different countries during their junior year. And then we host to exchange students from different countries. We have projects to provide warm jackets in the wintertime for the community. We do Meals on Wheels. We give boxes around the holidays, food boxes for Thanksgiving. So lots of great things. And then internationally, we have projects, water projects, sanitation projects in Guatemala, and also some big projects in Kenya right now. So, and I'm hoping to get a project going in the Philippines. That's my next goal. But it's awesome. Rotary is an international organization, and I was president of our club 2019, 2020, and I was able to go to the international convention in Germany, and just seeing how many people are involved all over the world and all the good that Rotary is doing is pretty remarkable.
How has that changed since COVID or during COVID and then post, a little bit post COVID?
So we're not meeting in person, we're meeting like virtually. So that's one big thing. And then the international conventions and all the training has been on the computer. There's a club that we've worked with in the started working with in the Philippines, in Manila, where Alvin's family's from and where he was born. And it's it's been hard to coordinate on projects with COVID. Just things are just different, and targets keep moving because other needs come up. So that has been hard. One really cool thing that my club did, we got really involved in um, a food project for Tigard and giving food. I can't think of the name right now because I have mom brain. It will come to me. But we donated a significant amount of money, and we worked with that, and they give food to families that are lacking food right now. And then we also did a project, Smiles for Seniors, and we made cards and gave flowers to senior living centers because they weren't able to see anyone for a really long time. So that was also new projects that came about with COVID.
Okay. So I believe it was May 13th. That should be a Thursday where, the new CDC guidelines were released saying that if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, or it's optional for you to wear a mask indoor and outdoor, and no more social distancing. For you in the medical field, what does that mean for you?
There's a list of professions that it doesn't apply to, or
Uh,
locations or places. So
okay.
one of that is medical facilities and clinics. So in our clinic, it won't change. We'll still be following the same guidelines that we have been, which is sanitizing a lot, wearing masks, social distancing, spreading patients out to make sure there's enough time and room and all that kind of stuff.
I know because in my work, again, I'm in the financial consulting. Everyone's just like, "Whoa, everyone started like one person just like ripped his mask off because he's vaccinated, and then they were just like smile, like talking to each other like normally without masks. So it's like it's partially great, but then with the anxiety in my head, I'm just like, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm just what, just I'll do it in the office when it comes to like going to Walmart or going to Winco. It's like, nope, not there yet. Not there yet.
Yeah.
So, well, I was just I didn't know if you were jumping for joy as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that hopefully this will mean more businesses can open, and there will be more flexibility. It's been really hard on small businesses. It was a hard year for my business, and I'm really thankful that we survived it. But financially, it was a really it was a tough year, like a lot of other businesses. Luckily, we were able to be open for most of it, and people really needed the care. It's before COVID, I would say maybe 20% of my day, a lot of emotional things would come up for patients, and they were having a hard time with anxiety or depression or sleep issues. After COVID, every patient, like there were lots of tears. There was some people, I was the only person that they saw because they were at home and isolated, and they would come to acupuncture, and it was, yeah, it's been a hard year, and I'm hopeful that without the mask mandate and for people that are vaccinated, that people will start being able to do more things and will be healthier. And yeah.
Keoni Chats is probably sponsored by Cove Hard Yerba Mate. Josh Meckler is a good friend and former guest of the show and a part owner of the company. And after his episode where he talked about the origins of Cove, I was curious as to how yerba mate tasted like. And so I have seen that yellow can that says yerba mate. So after getting the baseline understanding of yerba mate, I was like, okay, let's try it with some alcohol. So Josh was very kind and sent me a pack of 24 with all 4 of his flavors, including a mango colada, and then as a mojito, a bear, and a lemonade flavor. Honestly, I'm a very citrusy person, so all 4 of those flavors did speak to me, just on different times. At first it was like I like the berry, then I like the lemonade, and then it was like mojito came out of nowhere. So you really can't go wrong with whichever option you prefer. So if you are interested in trying some of Josh's hard yerba mate, go to hardyerba.mate.com, hardyerba.mate.com. Look around, create a cart, throw in some drinks from, throw in some berry, throw in some lemonade, throw in some mojito. He even has some apparel, so throw in a shirt here or there. And then before you check out, use a discount code Keoni Chats Cove, KEONICHATS for 25% off your total purchase. That is huge. So thank you to Josh and all the folks at Cove for sponsoring the show and supporting us. And I just, it's for someone that drinks beer. I'll still drink beer, but it does make me feel heavy, feel a little bloated. And with the sun coming out, I mean, at the day of this recording, a little bit of raining. So it's Oregon, so I can't really expect it to be dry all the time. But at least when it is nice and sunny out and I want to go out to a park and just have a light drink with some friends and just relax, I think this is the best option to go towards. So go to hardyerba.mate.com, hardyerba.mate.com. Use a discount code Keoni Chats Cove, KEONICHATSKOVE, 25% off. And you must be 21 and over to purchase any alcohol from Josh. And please enjoy responsibly.
So to some degree, you were these people's therapist.
I refer to therapists because I'm not a trained therapist. But I was a person they were able to connect with, another human that they were able to see. It's really hard and isolating to not see other people. I mean, we're mammals and we crave connection. So it was a hard year for a lot of people because they weren't able to have that connection. And I think that can increase other medical issues. And also, we were, like, my husband and I, some patients weren't able to get into their primary care providers or their specialists for months because of the limitations from COVID. And we were the only provider they were able to see. And if it was something that seemed really serious, and red flags were going off in our minds, we had to help them advocate for themselves and push to get appointments in, or go to urgent care if they needed to because they couldn't get into their primary. So it really shifted and changed the way that I practiced this last year.
It's awesome that you're able to help people, with acupuncture, but then also helping them have just somewhere to vent out their frustrations or just vent out how they're feeling. Is there any time, is there a time in your mind where someone got vented out and that kind of stuck with you as you headed home and maybe after work too, or you just try to shut it all off, leave it at the door, leave it at your business door?
Yeah, you know, when in acupuncture school we talk about this, leaving things at the door, and different rituals you can do when you leave, like washing your hands or doing some qigong, which qigong, yeah, so doing
Yeah.
different things, or like some people wear crystals, or some people wear a necklace, or do a little meditation. So that's something I've always practiced. um, I think that with time, I've gotten better at doing that and letting go. And I do think that by being able to see people every day and practice and help people during the pandemic, that helped me mentally, because I felt like I was making a difference and I was able to connect with people still. I was concerned, especially in the beginning when we didn't know much about COVID. I
Mhm.
was concerned about getting COVID because we didn't really know anything about it. So, and then I was pregnant and we didn't know. And at first it was like, no, you're fine if you're pregnant. And I was like, oh, great. And then the information changed as we learned more that you're higher risk when you're pregnant. So that part was hard.
Oh,
But I really think that being able to work with patients, it wasn't like I take a lot of stressful things home. It was more this, it was filling me up and I felt good.
yeah, yeah. You just, you want to help support. You want to help, just be there, just to help. I know it just for me, I can feel that too, where it comes to just being at work and be able to like talk to people for a short period of time and just get to know a
Hmm.
little bit more of their lives. It's just like, okay, I feel good. And doing these interviews, get to talk with yourself, you get to talk with Alvin back then, just talk to and see how you two have been able to operate as parents during COVID times. It's like, this is nice. I'm connecting with them on a deeper level
Yeah.
because, yeah, it's just like all I knew you as was like the mother, acupuncturist, and sports fanatic. No, 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 it can dig a little deeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know you have to go, but I do have. So how I usually end my interviews
Hmm.
is that I ask two questions out of a packet of 170. There's only two sheets because it's all kind of right here.
Hmm.
There's all that. So I'm just gonna ask you two. And again, I know you're have somewhere you need to be soonish. So,
Well, and I'd like to say where I need to be because I think it's important that we talk about this. There's
okay,
a
yes,
lot in that.
yes, yes.
Yeah, like I need to feed my son because he's been breastfeeding, and breastfeeding is hard. And a lot of people don't talk about that, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. And I think it's important. Some women they don't have enough milk. Some women have too much milk. Some babies have a hard time latching on. And we've struggled with him taking a bottle just because of his feeding issues. So that's, yeah. So he's going to be hungry soon, and that's where I need to be.
Can acupuncture help with lactation? I'm kind of curious about that.
So there's acupuncture points that can help increase lactation.
Okay.
Um, it's interesting. I had an acupuncture treatment, and afterwards I wasn't with my son, and I needed to pump, and I pumped, and I had a lot more milk than I normally get. So I have had patients come in, and we've worked for on lactation. So yeah, it can.
Hmm. Hmm. I have more questions, but again, you got places to be. You have kids. You have a kid to feed. Um. So my first question to you, I thought actually my girlfriend was here just like prior to this interview, and she saw this question right out loud, and I thought this would be perfect for Whitney.
Uh-oh, watch out. What is it?
So if you could make a medicine that could cure one thing, and that one thing could be anything, what would your miracle medicine cure be? Again, it's a
You
hypothetical
know,
world, so it can
I
be.
think it would be stress.
Ooh, that's a good one.
we we need some level of stress. It's normal to have stress, and that helps us, right, run from the animal that's chasing us. But we've our society, we are just, everyone is so stressed out, and it turns into disease if we don't deal with those emotions. And um, we can't sleep, and it's the root of a lot of illness. So I would say stress, without giving it much thought.
Yeah.
I
uh,
might text you later tonight and be like, you know what, Keoni, I was thinking, and there's something else.
let's jump back on the cameras. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, for me, overthinking, easy. It's just because like I do it all the time. I know my mom does it. I know my girlfriend does it. My brother, he kind of just turns his brain off. But you know, it's just so easy to like see. Let's say look at a poster, but then look deeper into the poster, and then next, I've thought way too deep into a poster. So it's like jumping too deep into the rabbit hole when you don't need to. So if there's just some medicine that can help, not like do that all the time, but just like shut it off half the time, oh, life would be kind of reckless but fun.
Yeah.
Reckless but fun. So my second question to you is that since you are, again, mother of a new child, I thought this would be a fun question to ask you. What animal would be the cutest if it was the size of a chihuahua? Because I assume Isaiah is a little bit smaller than a chihuahua. So what animal would be cute about that size?
What animal?
Yeah.
I mean, all animals are cute. What we have, uh, Isaiah really likes his bears, so I would say a little bear would be cute.
That's a good one.
I
Yeah,
love
pear.
koala bears.
Ooh, they're already. I think they're probably a little bit bigger than Chihuahua, but that would
Like a
be
little
cute.
tiny one, but they're kind of mean.
Like if a thing is agitated, anyone's mean.
That's true.
Like I assume you can be pretty ferocious.
Yeah, just don't get on my bad side, Keoni. You don't want to find out.
I was thinking like an elephant of a Chihuahua size.
Elephant would be cute.
Yeah, that would be. But then also, I was thinking elephant, then also like a lion or like a cat, just because like little kitty cats are just so cute. But then again, they do have claws and sharp teeth.
They do have claws and sharp teeth.
Yes.
I don't, even if animals were the size of a chihuahua, I don't think that they would want to. They still wouldn't want you like touching them and playing with them, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, again, we can dive deeper into this. But Whitney, where can the people find you, your business on social media, and if you want to do a little plug for your business, this is the best time to do it.
You can find me at www.whitneygreenacupuncture.com. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram. Our Instagram is WG Acupuncture. So that's where we can be found. And we're in Tigard, Oregon. Our specialty is pain management, injury recovery, sports, and women's health.
There you go. And I'll put all the information in the description at the bottom of the episode. So I never know if like people actually gravitate towards these individuals like yourself that have this small business just because of my episode. But I want to do my part and make sure that I lend my support.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. And thanks for interviewing me and interviewing people and spreading the word about different individuals.
Yeah. And plus, look at that. We're under an hour. We made
Under
it.
an hour.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
I mean, there's definitely I wanted to dive into more, but again, I wanted to make sure you stick to your schedule. I didn't want to get on your bad side, and I think we nailed it.
Well, okay. You're not on my bad side. You're definitely on my good side.
Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the episode. If you like what you heard or watch and would like more episodes from Keoni Chats, the show can be found on all podcast platforms and YouTube under Keoni Chats. If you want to keep in the loop on other creative content releases, you can follow KC Media on Instagram and Twitter under KC Media 13. And then on Facebook, it'll be under Conlu K Media. So if you'd like to be a guest, email me at kcmedia13@yahoo.com. Tell me your story. I'd love to get you on the show. So until the next episode, everyone, please take care.